Hey, what's up? Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Morning Scone, presented by Brewers. Glad to have you here with us. MLB draft is going on, day one in the books, and Brice Turang, the shortstop out of California, was taken 21st overall. So now LSU is keeping an eye on some current players and other signees in day two. So we'll talk about that. Quick reminder about our friends over at Boudreaux's. BoudreauxMix.com to learn more. You can find it in Baton Rouge at great retailers like Calandro's, Calvin's, and Alexander's, and Big Block. Ha! Drew's hanging out with us as well. Thanks to everyone who's so nice about that. Drew pops in here and says hi from time to time, and everyone who has noticed that has been very cool about it. Thinks that he's funny. I was self-conscious about it for a while, that maybe he was distracting, but kind of got over that pretty quickly, and he actually kind of enjoys popping in. So Nick Tarina, Nate Bumstead, what's up? Thanks for watching, y'all. So let's talk about Brice Turang, the LSU Baseball signee shortstop out of California, who was taken 21st overall by Milwaukee in round one of the draft yesterday. Derek Roussel, what's up? I'm just going to shout y'all out as I see you on there. Matthew Booth, what's up, man? It's disappointing. So Brice Turang, a little backstory, super smooth, shortstop, can hit for power. At one point was considered to be a possible number one overall pick in this draft. He signed with LSU. It was really doubtful if he was ever going to show up on campus. And then he didn't have a great spring of his senior year out in San Diego. Anyway, he didn't have a great spring of his senior year, and his price tag got high. There were some reports that he was asking for in the $3 to $5 million range. If you got in a $5 million range, then you're talking about well over slot for where he was picked. So the question was, and there's a lot of guys that have a big number and don't get it. And the question is, will you take less? When you're talking about if you want 3 and someone comes and offers 2, are you gonna punt on $2 million? Are you gonna hold to your number? And I think the hope for LSU was that, and I'll tell you why this is important in a second, but I think the hope was for LSU that Turang stayed true to his number, and nobody was willing to give him that number. But ultimately, with the way that slotting works and everything, had a team taken him, Turang, or any player in that first round, and they couldn't agree to terms, then they don't get to use that money in their draft pool for a later pick. So I guess the point is, teams aren't taking guys like Brice Turang in the 21st overall with a $3 million slot value if they hadn't already agreed to terms of the contract. So the hope for LSU, and I think Paul Manero even told this to Luke Johnson yesterday in The Advocate, the hope was that he would have fallen out of round one. And what that would have been an indicator of was that there was no team willing to give Turang the number that he wanted. But clearly he was taken 21st overall, so he got the number he wanted. So he's not going to show up on campus. I know there's some people that have tweeted or emailed and said, "Hey man, he dropped all the way to 21. Is there a chance he ends up on campus?" No, because I'm sure Milwaukee either agreed to his number or they were able to come to terms together on that number. So man, you can ask yourself why. You kind of go through this every year, obviously, with the draft and with guys who may or may not ever show up to campus, and it's always sort of the recruiting balance, right? You gotta weigh getting talent, but also guys that are going to show up on campus. I mean, you can sign a guy like Delino DeShields, but he's not going to show up on campus. You can sign Joey Gallo, but a year after you sign him, he's hitting bombs in the show for Texas. So you can sign those guys, but some of them just rarely ever show up to campus. Turang felt like they had a chance, but obviously with them going 21st overall, that's not going to happen now. And the reason that's kind of a bummer is you can just look at LSU, and they need an influx of talent. They do. They need an influx of talent. And if you start to play out something like that with a guy like Turang, where he could play short and hit in the middle of your lineup, and then you have Josh Smith coming back off an injury who could potentially play third. Maybe or second, and Jake Slaughter plays third, or Jake Slaughter plays second, provided Slaughter comes back. Anyway, you can start to see the options that you have. You have an influx of talent, because realistically, when you looked at LSU this year, especially after the injuries, when you've got Hal Hughes playing short, Hal Hughes was a good defender for LSU this year. I mean, no one was expecting him to play as a freshman, and certainly not to start every game at shortstop. But he's a good defender. He struggled mightily with the bat, and you got to have more from that. I mean, you can just look at a flip side and say, what do you expect from a freshman? Well, look at what Josh Smith did last year. He started for you at third base and nearly hit 300. That's doable. You look at what Daniel Cabrera did this year, coming on late. I mean, that's what happens when you have an influx of talent, of like star talent into your program, and that's something that I think LSU this year lacked, in part because of injuries and because they had a lot of really talented guys that left for the draft last year or graduated. So I didn't have great hopes or great ambitions for Brice Turang showing up on campus, but when I started hearing the stories about his number, kind of got a little more optimistic. But hey, bud, what's the matter? You want to come sit on my lap? You want to say hi to people?
Mom.
You want to come say hi?
Mom.
Say hi.
Mama.
Bye. We're not saying bye. We're saying hi to everybody. You see Daddy on the screen right there? More. Mall. More mall. Dad. Clap hands. I love you. You want to say hi to everybody? We're doing a show. Say hi. Okay. Bye. Hey, listen. I'm gonna go do the rest of my show. Okay. You want to go see Sesame Street? I'm gonna do the rest of my show. Go see Sesame Street. Sorry. Okay. All right. So now, keeping an eye on the rest of the day. David Barrick, what's up? Chris Ray, what's up? Michael Moore. Good morning, Michael Moore. Mark Bayard. Howdy, Scone. Howdy. Hey, Meg David. Good morning to you as well. I'm giving y'all shout-outs as I see you pop up on here on live. So here's what we're doing. We're keeping an eye on some other signees and players today. Brice Turang, of course, went in the first round. There's as far as current players, you're looking at guys like Zach Watson, Zach Hess. I keep getting these comments from people asking if Watson and Hess are going to come back and don't be so certain. Like, guys, this is a done thing. Whenever those two guys were projected by Baseball America to be third-round picks, and if they end up in that range, they're going to sign because they have leverage at this point. They can leverage their draft slot against coming back to LSU, and especially a guy like Zach Hess, especially a guy like Hess, who's a big power arm, who's probably going to be a reliever at the next level and a really good one. I think most scouts understand that, and they're not going to draft him based on what his starting pitching numbers were this year. They're going to draft him based on the fact that as a dominant reliever last year, he threw 97 with a wipeout slider, and there just aren't many guys that do that. So Hess is going to go rounds 3 through 10 today, and then 11 through 40 are tomorrow. So keep an eye on Zach Watson, Zach Hess. Duplantis will go at some point today, and he's an interesting one. Baseball America projected him in the 5th round. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Duplantis, because I think they do have a legitimate shot of getting him back. I talked about this with Scott Sanders yesterday on AFR. By the way, if you missed that interview, go listen to it. Scott is, of course, Cam's dad, who pitched in the majors, went to Nichols, and just had a great perspective on this. Like, something that I found out later is that his dad, Scott's dad, was a scout for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Scott obviously went through the draft process before and is kind of handling all that for Cam, talking to scouts and everything. So some great information about each of the LSU guys currently and what might happen with them. So anyway, I expect Watson and Hess to sign, absolutely. Duplantis, keep an eye on that. The more he might drop, the better a chance of him to return. And truthfully, if Duplantis were to come back, he'd lose a ton of leverage because he'd be a senior returning next year. But I saw our friend Jeff Marks, Walking with Tigers, tweet that Duplantis is somewhere around the 84, 89 hit range short of Eddie Furness's record for career hits at LSU. So he's averaged 89 hits every year in Baton Rouge. So he's got a great shot of, or maybe he's averaged 84 and he needs 89. Anyway, he's got a great shot of becoming LSU's all-time leading hitter. He could start in center field, likely increase his draft stock if he comes back and plays another solid year. Just a matter of if he, and if he wants to come back and give it another go and maybe have a chance to go out a winner as opposed to what happened this year with LSU. Where does Fiducia go? I don't know. Cam Sanders and Nick Bush are the other two that I'm keeping an eye on. Whenever Bush is a draft eligible sophomore, and when you throw 92 from the left side, those guys typically sign. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bush does sign. Speaking to Alden Cartwright yesterday on AFR, he said he thought Bush would come back next year, and that's a guy that could vie for either being a pretty dominant stopper from the left side and out of the pen, or could probably vie for that Sunday role. I mean, if you think about it, you're pretty confident next year. Sorry, I tapped my Boudreaux. You're pretty confident that Eric Walker, Mikhail Hilliard are your 1 and 2 next year, but you think about that third Sunday starter, could be Nick Bush, could be AJ Labus, could be Nick Storrs if he's healthy. You could conceivably move Todd Peterson back into the rotation where he started this season as your Sunday guy. I mean, you got options, and then you don't really know which of the signees show up and who might vie for that role. So you got options as far as your number 3 starter role, and Bush could be in that conversation. So I think there's a lot of appeal to him coming back, but also, as we mentioned, I mean, 92 from the left side, someone may give him a big number, and he signs. And then Cam Sanders, it was interesting because we were talking to Scott yesterday on the show, and he said Cam, they're hearing between rounds 5 and 7. The Baseball America projection has him in round 15. So we'll see where that levels out. If Cam goes today and he's a top 10 round pick, Scott said yesterday that all but expect Cam to sign if he's a top 10 round pick. So if you hear Cam Sanders' name called today, you can expect him to sign. So Jamie Leday, Yancey Benoit, Adam Swales, Jason Thomas, Chip Simone, Scott LeBlanc. What's up, y'all? Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. If you got questions or comments, y'all fire away. Thanks, Chris. Christopher Davis. Awesome moment with your son. Jesse Hamilton, best part of the show. When Drew comes in here and photobombs me, maybe I'll just start getting Drew to come in here and just hang out all together. So, by the way, Paul Maneri scheduled to join AFR today. So we'll talk about the draft. We'll talk about season ending. We'll talk about a lot of the things facing LSU baseball as they sort of move forward. One other quick note that I wanted to get to, and if y'all got questions or comments, fire away. We'll get some of that. But one other note that I wanted to get to was yesterday. We talked about this briefly on AFR, but yesterday the College Football Hall of Fame ballot was announced, and Kevin Falk is on it. There's only 9 LSU football players in the history of the program that have been inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, and 5 former coaches, by the way. And Kevin Falk's trying to become number 10. I've said this before, and I guess this is as good a time as any. I'm lobbying for and stumping for both Kevin Falk and Glenn Dorsey to have their jerseys retired at LSU. I think Dorsey, I can't believe it hasn't happened already. He would have been eligible in 2012 to have his jersey retired. And he's just the most decorated defensive player in the history of the program. He won every defensive national award that you can win, won a national championship, local guy, came back for a senior year. Glenn needs to be retired, but so does Kevin Falk. So I'll take this opportunity and stump for my guys, Dorsey and Falk, to have their jerseys retired. But congrats to Kevin Falk for being on the ballot for the College Football Hall of Fame. So I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up. If y'all got any questions or comments, fire away. We'll keep an eye on the Major League Baseball draft today. Again, rounds 3 through 10 are today. 11 through 40 are Wednesday. And it's going to be very, very important for the future of LSU baseball, what happens over these next couple of days. Oh, I forgot to go through the other signees. My bad. So Brice Turang was taken. Elijah Campbell's an outfielder out of Florida that you're keeping an eye on that could go today. Jaden Hill is a pitcher out of Arkansas. Landon Marceau is from Destrehan. He's a pitcher who very well who's likely going to hear his name called today. I mean, you're looking at the signing class. Levi Kelly, Will Ripple out of John Curtis, a couple of pitchers. C.J. Willis, a catcher out of Ruston. Cole Henry, the pitcher out of Alabama. Chase Costello, pitcher out of Florida. Mike Bianco's son, Drew Bianco, and an outfielder, Giamatti Giacomo out of Florida, 16th round projection for Baseball America. It's the whole damn signing class. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on these guys, man. It's going to be a pretty stressful 48 hours for Paul Maneri to see where these guys go. Let's see. Yancey, Falcon Dorsey should have a statue, jersey, retired, College Football Hall of Fame, parts of the field, stadium, facilities named after him. I don't know if I go all that far, but yeah, I think both of them need to have their jerseys retired. Let's see. Dude, you must be rocking it with the honeydews. It's obvious Erica's letting you rock the beard. You know what we talked about with the beard, though, seriously? Hey, baby, you back? What? Elmo? Are you watching Elmo in there? Oh, Laurel. I'm sorry. Laurel. Laurel is his cousin. Drew says words and he wants us to repeat them. It's kind of like speech therapy. All right, we'll see you later. Yeah, so anyway, what we agreed to was like, and I really don't care, but she, as far as, just like the look, but if like a clipper and keep it short. So that's what I'll just keep the clippers on it to make sure it stays short. So, all right, about to sign off here. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your day. If you're watching this after I sign off live, feel free to fire away in the comment section. I check it all day, so I'll make sure that I keep coming back to it. In the meantime, y'all check out our friends at Boudreaux's. They've got the Bloody Mary mix. So if you're going to be brunching it at any point, check out the Bloody Mary mix. Make sure you like them on all of their social media. The great thing about this is you just shake it, you pour it, you add your vodka, and then you just drink it. You don't need to go empty out your whole kitchen pantry. And then also they got the margarita mix. I told you I opened mine. It's all about quality control, right? It's all about quality control. So y'all check out Boudreaux's, boudreauxmix.com, and give them a shout out and thanks. I'll link their profile in their Facebook page in the title of this. So y'all click on it and like their page if you don't mind. I'd appreciate it. All right, y'all have a great day, and until tomorrow, it's been Morning Scone.